7 things you do to make the house buying process more difficult. And a little background on myself, I'm a full-time agent and investor, and I've done well over 100 million, maybe over 200 million, hundreds of real estate deals, and bought and sold a lot of properties myself, as well as helped plenty of other people buy and sell properties. So the very first thing you're doing to make house buying more difficult is not being pre-approved. That should be like the number one thing you do. Because if you can always just go to open houses, but you don't want to be like engaging with an agent if you're not even approved yet. Because what you think you can afford might be completely different than what you can actually afford. I've seen it happen both ways where people say, hey, we want to look at $1 million houses and they're only approved for 400,000. Or they're looking at 400,000 properties and they could go up to like 850 or even $1 million. So when you talk to a lender, and actually a good real estate agent will have a lender that they can recommend you before you start like looking at dozens of houses or different houses and things like that. And they don't have to do a hard credit check initially. They'll just look at your income and they can do a soft credit check so it doesn't hurt your score at all. And then they can say, look, here's based on the information we have, here's what you can afford, here's roughly what your monthly payment would be. And then once you have that pre-approval printed out, then you can say, look, okay, we can go up to say 800K. And that will give you a much better picture than just blindly going around looking at properties when you have no idea what you could really afford. So I've also seen it where the buyer might be, very well qualified, has the job, the income, the credit, but they just don't get around to it. They just don't want to deal with it. And then all of a sudden they see a property that they really love and they want to make an offer, but they need to get the pre-approval. And that property might have a deadline of like that night or a very quick turnaround. And then it's like a rush to get the pre-approval. And then we have to rush to get the offer in. So it's just a good idea to have that pre-approval letter ready well before you actually start making offers, because the lender can also say, look, if you want to buy that $1.5 million property, that $1 million property, whatever price range you're looking at, you're going to have to do this, this, and this. You're going to have to get your credit score up, income up, savings up, whatever it might be. And they can give you kind of a game plan. And that leads me to the second thing that you're doing to make house buying more difficult. And that's choosing the wrong lender, working with the wrong lender. And, when you're buying a house, especially in a competitive market, you want every possible advantage going for you. And if you have a lender it's like a 1-800 number, or it's like a slow response time, it's not going to work in your favor, even if you have an excellent offer. I've seen it where listing agents will choose someone that can just close a little bit faster with a local lender that they can talk to, that is not just going to some 1-800 number halfway across the country. And it's amazing to me too, how many buyers I've worked with that are set on one lender. And I'm like, this is really going to hurt our chances. I know they promise you the world and all this, but have you seen their reviews? Have you even looked at their reviews recently? And I was kind of joking with one of my buyers. I was like, I cannot have you make offers with this lender. And I screenshotted him the reviews, and it was like 1.5 stars, 2 stars. And he had no idea. I think he had just heard about the lender and just assumed that they were good. And I was like, this is going to be a bad experience for you. And if there's multiple offers, they're definitely not going to go with this lender. So what I like to do, your real estate agent should have a lender or even several lenders that they work with, that they recommend, that you can reach out to get that approval letter. Because when it's time to make an offer, which is oftentimes outside of the 9 to 5 typical banking window, and it's also on the weekends, sometimes a lot of offers are made on weekends. The big banks are not working on the weekends. So what I like to do when I submit offers, I like to have my lender also call the listing agent and say, hey, Bill is a super strong candidate. We can get this closed quickly in 3 weeks. We've looked at all the financials. We're good to go. Here's my cell phone. Call me anytime. Versus a 1-800 number. Hey, I'm out of town for another week. Call this person, and then you call that person. They don't know what's going on. So you really want someone that you can contact that has good reviews as well. The third thing you're doing to make house buying more difficult is choosing the wrong agent. And I think people overcomplicate this. You should have an agent that's local and has very good reviews. That's going to be like 95% of it. Also, you should get along with them and that kind of thing. But if they're local and they have good reviews, chances are they're responsive, they're knowledgeable, they know the different neighborhoods, they know how to write competitive offers. But again, similar to lenders, it's shocking how many people just work with like a random agent that doesn't really know what they're doing. And this is the biggest financial transaction in most people's lives. So like I said, you want someone that knows what they're doing. An agent that's brand new or non-responsive, they could really cost you, your dream house if they don't know what they're doing, or they mess up something on the contract, a detail, initial, or a contingency, or they don't have the capacity to show properties last minute. So a lot of times real estate, you might be going out of town and then the perfect property pops up, so you have to see it that day, and your agent should be able to accommodate that. For example, on my team, we have showing agents. So if you need to see a property ASAP, we can get you into that property ASAP. I mean, usually, we need like an hour or two notice at the minimum. But we can be pretty flexible. And real quick, 10 seconds, if you are looking to buy or sell a house in the Washington, D.C. area, just reach out to me below. You can fill out a quick form. My contact information is there. Or nationwide, I can also put you in touch with a great, local, well-rated agent that can help you get your dream house. The next thing you're doing to make house buying more difficult is not being completely upfront with your agent. So I've seen it sometimes where people might be approved for, let's say, $1 million, but they're like, I don't want to tell the agent that. I just want to say we're approved for 800,000. Well, the agents, their full-time agent, like myself and people I work with, we're looking at properties all day. And what if we saw your dream house, your perfect, picture perfect house with like the little pond in the back and the white picket fence and all that, but we didn't know that you could go up a little more, or we didn't know you were also open to different areas. Or, you should be very specific and basically give as much info as possible about your house buying, what you're looking for in a property. And if you can go higher, you should do that. Doesn't mean like your agent shouldn't just be sending you just the highest, most expensive properties out there. But oftentimes what does happen is, so whatever price range people start at, whether it's 300,000 or 3 million, they typically end up a little bit higher than where they started. Because once you get out there and you start seeing things, you start saying, okay, well, if we really want this, we're gonna have to go up a little bit higher. And that's okay. That's what happens when you start looking at properties. You want to find a property. You don't want to settle for a property. You want a property that you're excited about, that's at least like a 7 or 8 or 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 if you can. And also in terms of being upfront, you want to be upfront with your lender, most importantly. Like, you don't want to hide things from your lender. If you're getting a big cash down payment from your friend or family member, you want to let the lender know, because they have to track like all sources of funds basically. So you want to be very upfront with your lender, make sure they have all the documents. Sometimes they can basically get you almost like completely approved on the loan, before you even submit the documents. But hiding stuff and being dishonest is it's going to come back. I've seen it come back to haunt people. Number 5, you don't want to do anything to change your financial picture too much. So that would be like changing jobs. And it is okay. So lenders will say it is okay if you change jobs. But for example, if you're like have a steady salary at one job and then all of a sudden you're going to an all commission job, well, that's not going to work out, because with those types of jobs, you're going to need to have like 2 years of tax returns for the lender to use that income. So anytime you're making any type of big financial decision during the process of buying a house, which you shouldn't really be doing that anyways, talk to your lender. Like, obviously don't buy any cars, don't buy any boats. Make sure you're making all your payments so your credit score doesn't get messed up, and don't take on any new debt or anything like that. And I have had it before where we had a client where they were like, we're going to change jobs. I don't like my boss. Forget the exact reason. And we're like, okay, great. Just wait until the day after closing, and then you can do whatever you want. Wait until the loan has completely gone through, everything's good, and then you can change jobs. But you don't want to do that like the week before closing, the day before closing, because the lender is going to do one final check on the day of closing, and you want to make sure everything's in line. Another thing I see buyers do that make the house buying process more difficult is they only make offers on like the auction type properties. So every now and then, well, every market, you have the property where, let's say the neighborhood sells for $1 million, and then this one is just listed at like 600,000, and it's clearly just listed way under market, and it's going to get 20 offers, and it's just hard to win when you're going up against 20 offers. So, you can make offers on that. It doesn't take too long to write up an offer. I can write up an offer myself in like 30 minutes, but you shouldn't spend a lot of time or get your expectations up. Like, this is the one, like, it'd be great if we got it for this price, because chances are in that scenario, it'd probably get bid up hundreds of thousands of dollars more and probably go to like an all cash buyer and probably like closing in 2 weeks without any inspections and that kind of thing. So if you want to get the experience of just submitting an offer, go ahead. But I guess the point is, don't spend too much time. I've seen some buyers where it's like they only go after those properties that are kind of like the anomalies, which every single time they get 20 offers, and you're not going to have too much of a chance. And then if you do win that property, you probably overpaid, because if there's like 20 other offers, someone probably had to pay some absurd price to actually win the offer. And the 7th thing you do to make house buying more difficult is not having the right expectations. So some people are like, okay, we want this picture perfect 4-bedroom, 3-bath house with a 2-car garage right next to the metro. Our budget is $500,000. We also want an accessory dwelling unit that we can rent out on Airbnb for $3,000 per night, something crazy. So the way to set your expectations and get good expectations is, check out a lot of open houses to get an idea for prices, what you can get for different amounts. You don't need your real estate agent to go to open houses. You can just go to those. You should, and you can go to ones that are above your price range, below your price range. Try to get a sense of the market. You can also obviously look online. Zillow is great for just browsing different listings and seeing how far your budget with your pre-approval could get you. And that also helps because if you've only seen like one or two properties, you don't really have too many reference points. So you don't really know what a good deal is versus not a good deal. So that's why, you want to just see the market, get your expectations for what you can get for different amounts. And then once you've seen properties online, in person, at showings, at open houses, then you really know, when you see a deal, you can jump all over it because okay, that is a good deal based on everything I've seen, my market knowledge, my agent's telling me it's a good deal. Let's go after it. All right, so thanks for watching. And if you're looking for a real estate agent in the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia area, reach out to me below. Or if you're looking for one nationwide, I can also put you in touch with an excellent agent. See you in the next one.